We're going to read the story of the walnut tree. The first few weeks in April, when the snows have gone and the grass is yellow-green, that's the time to plant a tree. And every year those early April days brought the same kindly man to the plant nursery to fill his cart with saplings. He bought maples, quaking aspens, and evergreens. Maples because they grow tall and strong, aspens because they shimmer in the breeze, evergreens because they smell like Christmas. However, one April morning the man did something different. As he planted the new saplings behind his house, the house he had helped build with his own 2 hands for his wife and children, he stopped to examine a bucket of black walnut seeds that a neighbor had given him. He had never planted a black walnut before, but something about the idea pleased him. He smiled a thoughtful smile and placed one of the seeds in his pocket. Then, after planting the saplings, he dug a small hole in the ground with his shovel. He placed the walnut seed in the hole and covered it with soil, patting it down tightly. The man was excited to see what this little seed would become. He was a busy man, coming and going to meetings, but he always took time for his family, and he always cared for his trees. He pruned them and watered them and pulled the weeds that grew up around their trunks. He worked with his children in the yard and taught them about trees. They were careful not to step on them or hurt them in any way. As time passed, the little walnut grew, but never as tall or as full as the other trees, it seemed. The maples grew strong and wide. They scraped the sky with their scalloped leaves. The children thought they were majestic. The quaking aspens grew beautiful white bark. Their leaves shimmered in the wind, shining green in the summertime and glittering gold in the fall. The evergreens grew bushy and full. The children could hide away under their boughs and not be seen. Once, when the kind man was watering his trees, one of the children asked, "Why is the walnut tree so slow to grow? Will it ever be tall or wide or have beautiful leaves like the others?" The man looked over at the walnut. "Sometimes the things that take the longest to grow turn out the best," he said. Another child asked, "But what good is the walnut tree? Its branches are too high for climbing. It isn't even pretty like the other trees in our yard." The man fiddled with the hose. "Often the things that are not so pretty outside are the most beautiful inside," he said. Another of the children added, "It's not full enough for shade, and it gives us only a few nuts in the fall." The man stooped down to turn off the spigot. "The best things in life give all they have, even if it isn't very much." One spring, many years later, when the children had grown up and moved to their own homes and planted their own trees, the walnut grew no nuts at all. Its branches hung low, and its leaves did not grow. The kind man could see that the tree was sick. He knew the tree had to be cut down. After so many years of caring for the tree, it made the man sad to think of losing it, but he knew it had to be done. Knowing the value of walnut wood, the man called a wood expert to see what could be done with the wood from his dying tree. The wood expert had a wonderful idea. He knew of a large building that was being built, a church building. It would need beautiful wood for the walls and for the pulpit where the speakers would stand to give their talks. Skillful men were finding special trees and using the best wood for the building. They came to the man's house and cut down the walnut tree. They took it to a lumber mill where the tree was cut into sections. It was then taken to a woodworking shop where it was dried and shaped into a pulpit. It was lacquered and polished to show the swirls of its grain. When it was finished, it was placed near the front of the great hall in the new church building, where all who came would see it. Soon many people came to the new building. They were excited because the prophet of the Lord was going to speak to them. As they waited, they admired the beautiful hall and its walnut wood pulpit. When the prophet entered the great hall, all the people rose to their feet. He was the one they were waiting for. It was President Gordon B. Hinckley, the prophet of God. Oh, there he is. Later, when he spoke from the walnut wood pulpit, the prophet taught the people to obey the commandments and to serve one another. He bore testimony of the Redeemer of the world. Then, rubbing his hands along the grain of the pulpit, he told them about the wonderful little tree from whose wood the pulpit had been built. "I am speaking to you," he said, "from the tree I grew in my backyard where my children played and also grew." It was he who had planted the little walnut seed so many years before. He was the man who had cared for it for so long. The walnut tree had taken a long time to grow. It never grew tall or wide like the maples. It never shimmered in the sun like the aspens. It never smelled of Christmas like the evergreens. But now the beauty on the inside was plain for everyone to see. And every year during the wondrous first week of April, when the snows have gone and the grass is yellow-green, and later too in October, before the snows return, thousands of people would look upon the walnut tree and listen to the prophet speak the word of the Lord. And there's extra scriptures that go with those things that he said. 1, sometimes the things that take the longest to grow turn out best. And 2, some things that are not pretty on the outside are the most beautiful on the inside. 3, the best things give all they have, even if it isn't very much. 4, we love the most those things we work hardest to help. 5, sometimes things that are old are still very useful and valuable. And there are scriptures that go along with each of those. And there's that last picture. And that was the story of the walnut tree. I hope you enjoyed it.